Hey, what's up guys? Church is about to get started. Why don't you find your seats, kick back, sit down and relax. I'd like to show you guys a real quick card trick. This is actually my favorite one. Just follow me down. Here we go, let's do this. This is really a simple trick, okay? Really a simple trick. It deals with the four aces. We got the ace of diamonds, we got the ace of spades, we've got the ace of hearts, and the last one is the ace of clubs. Here we go. So now I'm going to take 3 cards. We'll put it on the ace of diamonds. We'll take 3 cards, put on the ace of spades, 3 on the ace of hearts, and 3 on the ace of clubs. All right. Now, here's what we're going to do. The ace of diamonds, that's the leader ace. We're going to put that right there. And we're not going to touch it. Hey, what's up guys? Church is about to get started. Why don't you find your seats, kick back, sit down and relax. I'd like to show you guys a real quick card trick. This is actually my favorite one. Just follow me down. Here we go, let's do this. This is really a simple trick, okay? Really a simple trick. It deals with the four aces. We got the ace of diamonds, we got the ace of spades, we've got the ace of hearts, and the last one is the ace of clubs. Here we go. So now I'm going to take 3 cards. We'll put it on the ace of diamonds. We'll take 3 cards, put on the ace of spades, 3 on the ace of hearts, and 3 on the ace of clubs. All right. Now, here's what we're going to do. The ace of diamonds, that's the leader ace. We're going to put that right there. And we're not going to touch it again. Here we go. Now, if any of you guys have ever seen me do a trick before, no, none of you guys have ever seen me do a trick before, but here we go. I take cards and I count them, 1, 2, 3, 4. But then if I twist them, the ace turns face down. Just like that. This trick goes just a little bit farther than that, and it disappears. Here we go, we'll try that one again. Here we go, we got the ace of hearts now. Here we go, we got 1, 2, 3. And it's gone. And here's the last one, and this one is definitely my favorite. Watch, I'll take the ace of clubs, I'll turn it down. If I rub that there, it is gone. The 3 aces have left my piles, and you know, those have been sitting there from the beginning. They haven't left your sight. Underneath these cards, you have the ace of spades, the ace of clubs, the ace of hearts, and the ace of diamonds. All right, guys, hey, that's all. Enjoy your church service. You guys have a great day. We'll see you next time.
What is up, friends? Welcome to the October edition of Thrive. As you can see, I am enjoying the Halloween spirit because, you know, Halloween. And someone asked me if I was Beauty and the Beast. I'm clearly just the Beast. There is nothing beautiful about what is happening here, but I'm glad you're here. And before we do anything else, whether you are on Zoom, whether you are just watching on YouTube, whether you are upstairs, literally right above us right now, I'm really glad you're here, and you should be glad you're here too. So here's what we're gonna do. This is how we start every single Thrive ever in the world. Look to the people right to your left or right, and make sure you're keeping like 6 feet of distance, especially if you're on Zoom. I don't know how that works, but like you're already keeping probably miles of distance, or watch it on YouTube. But keep 6 feet of distance and tell your people to your left and your right, hi, my name is blank. I am glad you are here tonight, and you sure do look pretty, because we are pretty people. So real quick, people right around you, hi, my name is blank. I'm glad you're here, and you sure do look pretty. You've got 10 seconds. Hey, I'm glad you're here. You look really pretty, as do you, Jacob. I'm Martin. Those are the things I'm supposed to say.
Okay.
And you guys?
Hi, I'm Jacob. I'm glad you're here. You're pretty.
Hi, I'm Cecilia. I'm glad you're here. You're pretty.
The magic is happening down here too. Don't worry. So we're gonna kind of just like start getting like the wiggles out a little bit, a little icebreaker kind of fun. So on the screen, right behind me, there is going to be a couple of Halloween Would You Rathers. If you were here last week for core group fun, we had a little bit of a Would You Rather shenanigans trying to get to know each other. And so on the screen, this is just for you to talk about in your core groups or on Zoom, wherever you are. Here's our first Halloween Would You Rather. Would you rather live in a world without Kit Kats or a world without M&Ms? So discuss amongst yourselves, would you rather live in a world without Kit Kats or M&Ms? Now, Cecilia, why don't you come step over here real quick while we're talking. Which of these is your...
This one for sure.
You would live without Kit Kats?
Well, yeah, because that's my favorite candy, so.
M&M's is your favorite candy? What's your favorite color?
Blue.
Blue. Some people say like you can't tell a difference, but you can tell a difference.
You can tell a difference.
You can. So I don't know feeling about Kit Kats and M&M's, but those are our two Would You Rathers for a second. Cecilia, thank you so much. You can. Thank you for saying you're welcome. Such good manners. Okay, let's go to our second Halloween Would You Rather. Would you rather turn into a vampire or a werewolf? Jacob, come on over here. Find your spot. So Jacob, are you would you rather turn into a vampire or a werewolf?
I'd rather turn into a werewolf.
Why would you rather be a werewolf?
Because they look cool.
They look cool. Do you feel like I kind of look like a werewolf right now? I'm really going for like werewolf chic. I mean, kind of Disney werewolf chic, but I like to think that this is the best werewolf any of us have ever pulled off. Jacob, if you were going trick-or-treating, what would you go as? What's your costume this year?
I don't have a costume.
Okay, think about it for the next time. When you come back, I want an answer for that. All right, so you have one more Would You Rather. Again, whether you are on Zoom or whether you are watching on YouTube, if you want to type into the chat, whether you're upstairs in the sanctuary. This is our final Halloween Would You Rather. Would you rather wake up to talking dolls in your room or wake up to see creepy clowns in your room? So talking dolls or creepy clowns. I'm going to be very honest with you. I think I might take waking up to see creepy clowns because dolls terrify me. Even if they don't talk, it scares the bejesus out of me. Cecilia, what do you think?
Dolls.
You would rather have talking dolls?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd rather have creepy clowns.
The clowns? I'm just saying, like, this is kind of it, right? This is Pennywise. But also, have you ever seen Chucky, Cecilia? Chucky killed people all the time. In fairness, so did Pennywise, but that's not the point.
You're like 5 times the size of it.
You're 5 times size, but Chucky kept, like, destroying people.
Cool.
Okay. I'm not... People down here in our basement studio are missing the point of the greatness. Actually, you're right. Clowns and dolls are both terrifying to me. There's no winner here. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to shift to a little bit of the audience versus our competitors down here. We have Cecilia and Jacob, 7th grade and 8th grade. And we're going to play a little round of What Were They Thinking? And so here is how What Were They Thinking works. In just a second, we're going to throw a picture up on the screen. with 3 captions, and I'll read them to make sure that you can see them. And again, whether you're on Zoom, whether you're on YouTube, or whether you're just upstairs, you are going to talk about, like, for each of you, what your favorite caption is, but you're also going to try to match Cecilia and Jacob down here. So we're going to hand them a pad. Come here, Cecilia, you're going to stand right where you were, right there. And in just a second, you are going to see 3 captions and a picture, and you're going to pick your favorite caption, and you're going to write it down on that piece of paper, and you're going to hide it so that no one can see it. And we're going to give the crowd out there a little chance to think about what their favorite is, and we'll see, how popular your choice was. Okay, so we're going to go with our first picture real quick. Make sure our mask is on. So we've got Demolition Derby Duo Dummies. That's what we'll call them. And here are our 3 captions. A, I haven't taken my permit test yet, but I'm feeling really good about it. B, this is how you impress girls, dude. And C, too legit to quit. So, Cecilia, pull that paper pad up, write down in big, bold letters, just A, B, or C. Just draw a giant A, B, or C so no one out there can see. And while you're looking at our Demolition Derby Duo Dummies, I think that's what we said, you are going to choose A, B, or C. I haven't taken my permit test. This is how you impress girls. Or C, too legit to quit. So you're going to get 5 more seconds to make up your mind, talk with your neighbors, and we're going to call that 5 seconds. So, Cecilia, why don't you show everybody out there what your favorite caption was? Let's see how it matched. B, you don't show me. Show the people.
Should I, like, go up?
No, you're good right there. She said, B, this is how you impress girls, dude. If you match Cecilia, give yourself a round of applause. A proper round of applause. Even pat yourself on the back. Like, that's how we treat ourselves here. Cecilia, you can put our writing pad down here. Jacob, come on where Cecilia was standing. Fine work, Cecilia. I think that might have been my choice too. Fine work. So we're going to throw up our second picture of what were they thinking. Let's see here, Jacob. We've got this beautiful couple, the Eiffel Tower with a pigeon. A, I hope he proposes. I'm assuming this is from the lady's point of view. B, I hope she's not expecting me to propose. That is from, I'm sure, either the man or the pigeon's point of view. Or C, these pigeons are freaking huge. Which is true. I actually would like to fixate on the giant pigeons. So, Jacob will hide Cecilia's B right there in big, bold letters. Make your selection A, B, or C. Now, you watching at home, I have a hunch that there's going to be a lot of A's and B's. And actually, let's be really honest. Those are some freaking big pigeons. I think we should focus on the giant pigeons. We'll give you 5 more seconds. Cecilia, you look very black today. Very warm and very dark. Are you going as a shadow for Halloween?
I'm actually doing nothing for Halloween.
You're doing nothing? You're going as nothing.
I'm going as nothing.
That feels like meta and like things I can't even comprehend.
I'm probably going to wear this, actually.
That's a good idea. She's going to wear that. All right, so Justin, while everyone else has been discussing their favorite caption, what did you say? C. Show the camera. We have a big C. I think I said Justin, and that's your brother's name, and that's rude. But Jacob, you are focusing on the freaking huge pigeons. I think we should all focus on the freaking huge pigeons. Leave our, let me see our paperboard, and we'll do one more here. Let me see that guy. Okay, we'll do one more of these pictures. We've got a bro looking at a pyramid. A, where is that dang pyramid? B, I look so sick in this photo, I bet. Or C, I salute you, pyramid. Good job. So, Cecilia, why don't you come over here and show off your nothing Halloween costume? A, B, or C? A, where is that dang pyramid? B, I look so sick in this photo, I bet. Or C, I salute you, pyramid. Good job. I actually don't know what my favorite one already is, so I feel like this has been the the closest of all of our competitors, for lack of a better word. Cecilia, hold on just a second. Pause. We're gotta give the people time to think. This isn't just all about us.
Okay.
So you're going to Halloween as nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Justin, what'd you say? You didn't say anything.
Going as a middle school.
You're going as a middle schooler.
Oh yeah, that's a better way.
Very deep.
I'm just
Very.
going as myself. As a
That's not a costume, Cecilia. Going as yourself is not a costume.
It should be a costume.
It should be. That's probably true. It should be a costume. It's not. Maybe it should be. Okay, so Cecilia, what did you write? A, B, or C?
I said B again.
B again. I look so sick in this photo, I bet. If you match with Cecilia, we have literally no prizes for you, but we love you a lot, and we're so glad you're here, and you really do look pretty. Amazingly, that's also true if you said A, B, or C. So Cecilia, I will take our beautiful, beautiful writing. My friends, you guys can head on out, go back on upstairs to the sanctuary. When Jacob and Cecilia get back upstairs, just give them a round of applause when they walk in. If you're on Zoom, just assume that you should be giving them a round of applause right now for being awesome, because frankly, people are awesome, and we all deserve a lot of high fives and rounds of applause wherever we go. I think we should all just get rounds of applause in all of the places. But like we said, I am so glad you are here at Thrive tonight, whether you are online watching on Zoom or on YouTube, or whether you are here like up in the sanctuary. I am crazy glad you're here. I'm also hearing the round of applause that is happening upstairs, and that was incredible. That is how rounds of applause for very random things are supposed to happen. So thank you guys so much for playing. Whether, again, no matter where you're watching from, we're glad you are here. One of the things that we say all the time here at Gathering Students is you are welcome here. Just like period, you're welcome. And no matter who you are, no matter what you're about, no matter what grade you're in, no matter where you go to school, what sports you play, or what sports you don't play, or what instruments you play, what instruments you don't play, whatever drawings you draw or drawings you don't draw, whoever you are and whatever you're about, we're glad you're here. Particularly if you are wearing an inflatable sumo wrestler, like inflatable costume thing upstairs right now, like that, we are especially glad that if you are in an outfit for Halloween that you're here. I mean, I'm doing my best Beauty and the Beast right now, but we're glad you're here. And tonight we started with this countdown. If you got here early enough or you're watching early enough, we started with this countdown on YouTube or on our screen with this guy doing magic. And he was doing this illusion with 4 aces. And I'm going to be honest with you, when I was in high school, I thought I was probably going to be a magician when I grew up. Now, I was terrible at magic, and I only know like 3 card tricks now. They're really cool. I'll show you them later. But I was really convinced that I was going to get into magic. I thought being a magician was the coolest thing. And tonight we're going to talk a little bit about some illusions. I'm not going to do any magic tricks, although I should have some cards here. That would be way more dope, and I would be way cooler if I was like doing a card trick here for everyone to watch, but I'm not good enough in magic for that to be a thing. But I'm not sure if they still make these things or you guys still see these in school. But when I was in middle school, I have no idea why. But we got shown these weird like mind puzzle optical illusions. So this was one. It's a picture of an old woman or a young woman. If you've never seen this picture, I'm curious what you see first, the old woman or the young woman. You can like talk with the people right around you real quick. And if you can't see the other one, then maybe ask for their help. But it's this crazy cool picture where there's 2 women in the same picture. It's an optical illusion. You see one thing or you see another. Your mind is playing tricks with you. It's kind of like magic, except not really at all like magic. Or here's another one. Here's this picture, and in some ways it is a face, but it's also like this outdoor family. And it's kind of amazing that you can paint a picture. And what do you see first? Do you see the family or do you see the face, or do you see both at the same time? Like it's crazy the way that illusions kind of play with our mind. That we see one thing, but we don't see another thing, or vice versa. I mean, that's how magic works. We think we see one thing, and then all of a sudden we end up with something else. Or even better yet, when I was in like kindergarten, I got exposed to magic eye optical illusions that look kind of like this. Have you ever like seen these things where you have to like get cross-eyed and like get close to it and walk away, and you see this like three-dimensional object in the picture? Please tell me that some of you all have experienced magic eye books or posters. Like when I was in elementary school, we got book fairs all the time, and one of the things that we were allowed to like buy at the book fairs were magic eye puzzles. Like just raise your hand, whether you're on Zoom or upstairs in the sanctuary, if you have ever done a magic eye puzzle like this. Now, let's just all be really honest with each other. How many of you all have seen these magic eye puzzles and never been able to like figure out how to see what everybody else sees? Like you just look at it and it's like this is a bunch of colors and patterns that mean absolutely nothing. Good, you're like in good company, because it took me like years to master the art of looking at a poster and seeing something I wasn't supposed to see. And tonight we're talking about illusions, but we're not so much talking about like optical illusions. We're not so much talking about magic, although again, if I could make myself disappear, that would be incredible. Like frankly, I could jump off the screen and then I'd come back, and we call that magic, but that's not really magic. We're talking about the illusion of perfection, the illusion of being perfect. And I don't know if you all are anything like me, but I've spent most of my life under the idea that I needed to be perfect. I needed to be good enough all the time. And because I felt that way all the time, I spent most of my life not feeling good enough. Like I wanted to be good enough at sports to make the team, and then I wanted to be good enough to make the starting lineup. But even more than that, like I wanted to be good enough to be on the team so I could wear a jersey to school, and then people would maybe like think I was more important or cooler than I was because I had a jersey that I got to wear to school. That was like a dream I had. I wanted to be cool enough and good enough so that people would like me more. Or I know that like everyone here is in middle school, but like when I was in high school, I wanted to get the perfect grades so I could be like high enough in my class to be in the top 10%. And that meant that I was smarter than other people. And somehow in my brain, I thought if I was smart enough, then people would like me more. Or my parents would love me more. And the truth is my parents loved me so much, even if I got straight D's. They would have loved me no matter what, but I spent most of my life trying to be perfect. And what the problem with that is the way that I judged that more often than not was I compared myself to the people around me. I compared me wanting to be perfect to all of the people around me who I thought talked cooler or had more friends or dressed with clothes that cost way more than my clothes, or they were hanging out with the right people and I might have been hanging out with the wrong people. So I compared how good I was to everybody else around me all the time. And the problem was that always left me feeling not good enough. I wanted to be more perfect. I wanted to be more gooder. And I know that that is not a word, gooder, but it should be. Gooder should be a word. But I think we all feel this pressure sometimes to be perfect. We feel this pressure kind of all the time to be good enough. We're not even good enough, but better than we are and better than other people. Like we're constantly comparing ourselves and we want to be more gooder than them. And so here's our question real quick. We're gonna put this on the screen in just a second, but our first question for the night, and if you're on Zoom, you're gonna discuss this there. If you're upstairs in the sanctuary, discuss it amongst your core group. But our question is, oh my gosh, I forgot our question. And that's really funny to like go blank like that. But our question is, in what ways do you feel like you have to be perfect? What are the ways that make you feel like you have to be good enough? So in what ways do you feel like you have to be perfect enough? Find your core group, find your Zoom group, and discuss that for 2 minutes. So here is how I know that perfection is an illusion. Here is how I know that it's something that we're never, ever going to achieve. It's because we compare how perfect we feel like we're supposed to be to everybody else. I just said that, but when I was growing up, which was like a million bazillion years ago, because I'm old and like my hair is starting to fall out underneath this beautiful mane of beastly costume hair. But there was this show on Nickelodeon. It was really kind of a skit, and it was called Inside Out Boy. And some of you have heard me talk about Inside Out Boy because he's one of my like favorite illustrations in the world. But Inside Out Boy was a show on Nickelodeon, which still exists, so that makes me feel like I'm not the oldest geezer in the world. But Inside Out Boy was a boy who, get this, claymation, his insides were on his outside. It was Inside Out before Inside Out, and far less like deep and profound and good. It was not as gooder as Inside Out. I've got to stop saying gooder because we're going to get ourselves in trouble. But that Inside Out Boy is kind of how most of us live our lives. And here's what I mean. We compare our insides with everybody else's outsides. So the truth is that no matter like what we project to the world, we know everything going on in us. Like, you know what makes you feel insecure. You know what makes you feel afraid. You know what makes you feel not good enough. You know the parts of your story that you kind of don't want anybody to hear. You know everything about yourself. You know all of your insides. And you're comparing all of that stuff to what you see in other people. You're comparing your insides to their outsides. And the truth is that we spend a lot of time trying to like curate our outside so that people will like us, but you're comparing all of you to only what you see of somebody else. And the truth is that's never a fair comparison. That's not ever fair for you to try to compare what's going on in you to what you think is going on in somebody else. They're not as perfect as they seem, and you're not as beat up as you seem. Or if you're someone who's just convinced that you are perfect, you're not as perfect as you think you are. But we spend so much time comparing our insides to other people's outsides. So here's our follow-up question to my first question. The first question is, in what ways do you feel like you have to be perfect? Our second question is, where does that pressure to be perfect come from? Like in your life, who are the people or what are the surroundings that make you feel like you are supposed to be good enough and perfect enough all the time, that your grades need to be high enough, that you need to be on a certain travel or club soccer or volleyball team, or that you need to be in this band, or that you need to be in this art class, or you need to be in this or that or this or that. Where does that pressure to be good enough and perfect enough come from in your life? Whether you're on Zoom or core groups, take 2 minutes to talk about that real quick. Okay, I just wanted to come back because I really thought that would feel like magic. It would feel like I just kept poofed and was here. And I know it didn't feel that way to anybody else, but to me, it felt magical. And I just really appreciate you humoring me and making me feel like I could grow up and be a magician one day when I'm doing other things. So there's a story that I love in the Bible. It's not really a story, but it's a story of a guy's life. His name is Paul. And Paul, he wrote like most of the New Testament. It's the second half of the Bible, like after Jesus. He started probably more churches around the world than like anybody in history. He was a guy who spread the story of Jesus and the love of Jesus all over the world. And what was awesome about Paul is that Paul, he might have been blind. So he wasn't like a particularly impressive dude all the time. He preached and started churches, and he also made tents. Like that was his job, was making tents. He was a tent maker. So he was just kind of a guy. And what's cool about Paul is that he spent a lot of time not telling the world how awesome and amazing Paul was. And he did some amazing, incredible things. But the incredible thing about Paul's life is he spent far more of it talking about what God was doing in his life, what God was doing in the world. And he came up with this incredible way of talking about himself and how imperfect he was. And he wrote a letter to this church in Corinth. It was his second letter to the church in Corinth, so we call it 2 Corinthians. And here's what Paul had to say. But we have this treasure in clay pots, so that the awesome power belongs to God and doesn't come from us. By the way, if you are someone who has a Bible, you are allowed to like highlight and underline stuff in your Bible. This is something that I've highlighted, I've underlined, because I've wanted to come back to it over and over and over again. But I love the way that Paul talks, because he says we have this treasure in clay pots. And for Paul, the treasure was God using it, was God's calling in his life. The treasure was that God had a plan and a purpose for Paul's life. It was this treasure that he got to carry around with him. And what was amazing about Paul is he didn't want you to focus on the clay jar, the clay pot, which he writes about. We have a treasure in a clay pot, that we are the pot and God is the treasure. But he wanted to focus on the treasure inside of the pot. He wanted to talk about what God was doing in his life. And what was awesome for Paul is that he was so imperfect, so not good enough, that anything that was awesome and incredible that came out of him, he got to look at people around him and say, look what God did through me. Look at how cool what God is doing in my life is. So I have this jar up here. Some of you all have seen this jar before. I love talking about this jar. And here's why I love talking about this jar. It has some cracks in it, in case you haven't noticed. And I got to tell you how those cracks got there. I took a hammer and I smashed this pot. It's a vase. I went to Steinmart. I bought it like 8 years ago, and I smashed it with a hammer. And then I glued it back together. But I didn't put all the pieces back in. And then I put a candle on the inside of this vase. And it's made out of clay, just like the clay pots that Paul's talking about. And what's amazing is that if I light the candle inside this vase, you can't see it if there aren't some cracks in the vase. The light doesn't get out if there aren't a few flaws in the vase. The story in Paul's life was not a story about Paul. It wasn't a story about a clay pot. The story of Paul's life became a story about what God was doing through Paul. It became a story of what the treasure was doing inside the clay pot. Now here's what's amazing about clay jars, that they're not meant to be the most incredibly durable, the most incredibly fancy and shiny pots in the world. They're just for carrying things. That we're going to get some scuffs and some bruises, going to get some dings and some dents and some scratches and maybe even some cracks and some holes. But the point of the story isn't about the jar, it's about what it carries. Here's the truth, friends. You're not perfect. I think you guys are awesome. I think you're wonderful and amazing, and God made you in some incredibly awesome ways. And you're all unique, which is the most amazing thing about all of that. But you're not perfect. And the truth is, you're not ever going to be, and you weren't ever supposed to be. And here's the even better news. Look at the people right around you. If you're on Zoom, set the gallery view so you can see everybody. And I want everyone to look at the people right around you and just say this: you're not perfect. Go ahead, do it. The people right around you, just look in their eyes, keep your mask on, obviously, so you don't want to blurt this COVID insult in their faces. It's you're not perfect. And now we can all exhale because we don't have to be. That's not the way God made you, but here's what I can tell you. You were made in the image of God. You are made to reflect God. God did not make flaws and imperfections when God made you. You were formed together exactly the way that you were meant to be. And it's different from everybody else in the room or at your school or in your family or in your core group or on Zoom. No matter where you are different. But you are different just the way you're supposed to be. You were made amazingly. And just like this clay vase, or just like Paul's story, you're going to get some dings and some bruises. You're going to get some scratches and you're going to make some mistakes. Your path isn't always going to go right down the straight and narrow, and people aren't always going to be kind to you. You might get hurt. Your feelings might get stepped on and your heart might get trampled. You might not make every team you try out for, and you might not get straight A's on every test. But what I know to be true is that you are good enough for God to have a purpose for. You are good enough for God to use. You are good enough to bring more light and love in the world. And what's amazing is that when we stop trying to be perfect, when we stop trying to make everything all about how good and awesome and amazing we are, that's when God's light starts shining through. The smaller we get, the more God gets to shine right through us. And that's when incredible, miraculous, amazing things start happening. I have a friend, before I lived in Missouri, I have a friend named Audrey. And Audrey was one of my favorite students I've ever gotten to work with. And Audrey, her story was complicated. It was messy. It included some time in hospitals and a lot of self-doubt. And I'm wondering if she was worth it and how good she was. Audrey was incredible. And Audrey had some marks on her arms. And she'd spent some time in her life not feeling good enough, and that kind of came out in hurting herself. And we got to talk one day at a Starbucks after she'd come back home. And Audrey and I got to talk, and we were talking about what was going on, how she was feeling about herself, and she was feeling sad that she was going to have these scars on her arms. And it was one of the coolest things to get to tell Audrey that God is going to take those scars and tell an incredible story through your life. Because you may not be perfect, and you may have some bumps in your and bruises, but now you get to tell everybody around you how good your God is and how good and how big that God's love is for you. Friends, I don't know what you're struggling with today. I don't know where you're hurting or where you're feeling bad. But what I know is no matter how busted up or scuffed up or screwed up or broken up you feel like you might be, how lonely you might feel, there is nothing about you that could make you not good enough for God to use you. There's nothing you could do that would make you not good enough for God to love you and to have a purpose for you. If you're hurting, we'd love to chat with you. Your core group leaders, me, we'd love to know how we can come alongside you and remind you of that. But the truth is you're not perfect, and you don't have to be. And so I've been thinking a lot about this because in COVID times, like we're living in right now, we have to wear masks all the time. We're literally always wearing masks. But I think that was even true before COVID hit. And even if they weren't masks that covered our faces, our mouths, and our noses, we all wear masks. Maybe not as scary as these like Halloween beauties, but we wear masks. We put filters on our life. We want to like curate a story that other people will like. And so if one mask doesn't work, we put on a different mask. And maybe we wear one mask for one group of people, and then we take it off and put on a different mask for another group of friends. Or maybe they're not even friends, but there's people we like to be our friends so that we could feel good enough. And maybe we talk differently, or we wear different clothes, or we behave differently, or we're nice to some people on one day and mean to them on another day. But we all wear masks trying to prove that we're good enough. We put filters on our lives and our stories, and we tell a story about our life because we want people to love us. And the truth is, friends, you are loved, and you can take those masks off. All those things in your life that you're trying to hide, God would tell you, I'm glad you're here. You don't have to be okay. You don't have to be fine. You don't have to be perfect. I've got a job for you, and I've got love for you. So here's what we're going to do as we are closing out. If you're upstairs in the sanctuary, there should be a little paper cutout mask for you. And there should be probably a Sharpie. And here's what we're going to do. On those masks, we just invite you to write down all of the places that you feel like you have to wear a mask. All the places where you feel like you have to be perfect, or you feel like you have to be fake so that people will accept you. And maybe it's the mask you put on. Maybe it's clothes. Maybe it's sports. Maybe one of your masks is, if I make the starting lineup on the soccer team, then my parents will love me a little bit more, or I'll get to hang out with the kids in that club because I want to be part of their team. We all wear masks. And we say things like, it's okay, or it's fine. And maybe our masks, maybe the things that make us feel not good enough are our parents, or our SNAP scores, or sports, or grades, or friends. So on your mask, we're just going to take a couple minutes and let you write down some of the places that you feel like you have to put on a mask, or the people, when you're around them, you feel like you have to change who you are. Or maybe it's the things you do to make people love you, where you feel the most inauthentic, the most fake, the most not yourself. And friends, our hope is that when you're here, you can take off those masks. You can just be you. And we're going to have to learn how to love each other when we take off our masks. It gets messy. But we're glad you're here, and you can take those masks off. If you're watching on Zoom, you don't have a mask. I'm sorry we couldn't FedEx them to your house. I really hate that. But just find a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil and just write down those exact same things. And if you want to hold it over your face to be a mask, that would be hilarious and funny. You don't have to share this, by the way. You can just hold it to yourself. And in just a second, we're going to come back and I'm going to explain to you what we're going to do with those. So I'll give you a couple minutes, and I'll be back to explain how we're going to finish those out. All right, so here's what we're gonna do with those masks. Before we get to any announcements or anything like that, out in the courtyard where the 7th grade core group usually meets, we have a fire pit. And here's what we're gonna invite you to do. On your way out, if you would like to, if you wanna drop it in that fire pit, later tonight, we're gonna burn those masks. And if you're at home because you couldn't be here tonight for any number of reasons, we love you and that's totally okay. Our invitation is like for you to light a fire and burn that mask. And here's why we want to do that. Because all of the masks we have to wear, you can take off. You don't have to be perfect. You can be like this vase. You can have some bumps and bruises. Your story doesn't have to be good enough. You are good enough. And so we're going to kind of symbolically burn those masks later. But before we do that, will you pray with me? And then we'll have some announcements. God, I am just so grateful that you are a God who's big enough to use us even if we aren't perfect, even if we don't have enough Instagram followers, even if our Snapchat score isn't high enough, even if we didn't make the team, even if our grades aren't where our parents want them to be. God, you can use us just like this clay jar, just like Paul. Your treasure, your calling is big enough and good enough for us. And there's no one in this sanctuary or watching on YouTube or Zoom that is not good enough. So God, I pray that you remind us of that every day. It is in your name we pray. Amen. All right, so friends, we're glad you're here. If you are in person here at the Webster site, I got to keep fixing this mane on my head. It's weird. If you are with us in person, one, I hear there is another inflatable, which is incredible. We need more inflatables in the world. So I'm glad you're here. But if you didn't on your way in, go check in on one of those iPads. We just want to know that you were here. And if it's your very first Thrive, we're especially glad you're here. Check in on the table that says, new here, first time guest. We'd love to have you fill out a Connect card so we can follow up with you and tell you how awesome you are. We're really glad you're here. And if you want to follow along with what's going on with Gathering Students, there are a couple of ways to do that. You can text this number, 81010, and text at GUMC STU-MS, Gathering United Methodist Church Students Middle School. Every so often we send text messages about random things, and we'd love for you to text that number and get some announcements about what's going on with Gathering Students. You can also follow us on Instagram and Snapchat. I want to go ahead and tell you that our Snapchat score is crazy low. It's really embarrassing, and we're trying to get our level up. I'm sorry. If we embarrass you and you don't want to add us, that's fine. We get it. But we'd love for you to pop on there with us. We're going to be doing some more Movember games come November, and we're going to be having a lot of fun. We'd love for you to check out what's going on Instagram and Snapchat. A couple more things. If you are not in a core group, if you're here or you're watching on Zoom and you are not part of a core group, they are kind of the things that we do here at Gathering Students. And our hope is that they are places where you can belong, where you can connect more with each other and also connect more with Jesus. That is our hope for core groups. They're places where we hope that you feel known and loved, just the way we've been talking about tonight. So if you want to get signed up for that, you can actually find us on Instagram and go to our bio. There's a link to register. It's super easy. The people you're around, if you're up in the sanctuary, that's your core group. We'd love to have you join us. And then explore. If you are in 8th grade, for the next 3 Sundays, we're going to be doing something a little bit different for core groups. We're still going to be meeting together, but we'll have some extra people, and we're going to be doing this thing called Students Explore Together. And if you've never heard of that, that's fine. If you've heard of confirmation, this is kind of our confirmation thing, but even if you've been confirmed or don't want to be confirmed, that's totally okay. It's just core group for 3 weeks. Think of it that way. But what it is, we're going to explore the big questions of faith. Who is God? Who is Jesus? What does it mean to follow Jesus? What is the Bible? And how do I even read it? If you've got a billion questions about Christianity, this is the perfect place for you. We'd love to have you sign up and register for that. We're going to have some fun gatherings together, and we'd love for you to be there for the next 3 weeks. Next, if you haven't heard, we have started this podcast called Skip the Snooze with Gathering Students on Spotify. We every so often have some giveaways. Pastor Matt is actually going to be our guest on Wednesday. So it's on Mondays and Wednesdays. You can catch like 5 o'clock or anytime after that. But if you're like just getting ready for school and looking for something to kind of get you pepped up and ready to start your day and kind of connect your faith to your everyday lives, this is the podcast for you. Find it on Spotify. Episodes are usually like 8 minutes long for getting ready for school. And then kind of almost lastly, we, as you guys know, have been doing this thing called raising money for Mozambique. Raising money to dig a well in Mozambique to change some lives in communities in Mozambique. And I've promised for the last 2 years that if we raise $10,000 as a student ministry, I will shave this disastrous beard on my face. So we're making this thing trend this year, guys. We are hashtag mowing the beard for Mozambique. So at all of your core group stations, there should be some cards. There are a lot of ideas for how you can raise money. We're going to have some fundraiser nights at local restaurants. We're going to have hopefully some drive-in movies. We're going to have a bunch of, some big things, but there are also some small things that you can do to help us reach our goal of $10,000 in digging a well. If you're a babysitter, maybe you can take a couple of your babysitting gigs and donate that money. On the stage right now in the sanctuary, there's this blue bucket. If you have money right now to donate, drop it in that bucket. We'd love to have you partner with us because we don't get to $10,000 unless everybody chips in a little bit. And I've seen firsthand in Mozambique the ways that lives are changed with these wells. It's incredible. And so these are ideas that can help us raise that money. We're actually, hopefully in 2 weeks, going to have an outdoor movie night over in the courtyard. So bundle up like in all your sweats and bring blankets. We're going to have popcorn, maybe some hot chocolate. We're going to put a big screen movie on outside. Invite your friends. We're not going to charge admission, but we're going to invite people to bring donations and hopefully raise a ton of money just having fun with our friends and watching movies. So that is a huge, big goal for this fall. We've got like 2 more months. We love to get to a point where we're raising $10,000, and I promise I will mow and shear and whatever we need to do to get this beard gone. We have one more really exciting announcement that I've been really excited to share. So we've talked for a while about how this Galilean Students is a family. We are all part of the same family, and that we're a growing family. And so for the last little while, we've been talking about maybe hiring a second person to be part of the Galilean Student staff. And we've been trying to figure out what that might look like, what that role might look like. And I think that we've gotten pretty close to identifying what the role we need is. We're actually going to be hiring somebody starting in April 2021 because we are going to need a babysitter. Because this Gathering Students family is growing by one baby in her tummy. If you haven't met this awesome lady, this is Hannah, this is my wife, and we are having a baby in April. This is like the coolest news we've ever gotten to share. Now, here's the deal. You can't share this with your older siblings yet because they're coming to engage later tonight. Don't tell them, don't ruin it. We're going to surprise them the exact same way. We're so excited for you to meet this little baby. We don't know if it's a boy or a girl. We're not going to know for a while. And we may not even tell you when we do know. But we know that you are going to love this baby because this is a family that loves. I am so glad we're going to get to have this baby be part of this family. And so if you could be praying for us, we're excited. We're praying. We're calling this baby Gumby right now. If you could be praying for Gumby, we would really appreciate it. And before we go, we close most of all of our Thrives the same way, with a call, with a charge. So I'm gonna read what's on the top of this screen, and then all at once, whether you are on Zoom or in the sanctuary, you are going to read out loud with a big booming voice the part that says everyone. So my friends, where will we go and what will we do? Friends, my prayer is that we go out to be God's people in the world. I am so excited to do that with you. And whether you feel like you are good enough, you are part of what God is doing in the world, and you are part of God's love. I love you guys so much. I can't wait to see you at core groups next week or at Thrive next month. Until then, get your Halloween on. We love you guys. And if you want to turn in your mask outside, we will burn that thing later tonight. Love you guys. We'll see you soon.